Lately, I've been feeling depressed, you could say. Um, the reason why I've been so down is because I was abused as a child and neglected and all sorts of other stuff. But this is the thing that I'll say is hurting me whenever I'm getting the most angry and when I'm in the most crisis situation. What bothers me is that I have lived my life to a high moral degree. I've been selfless. I've loved. I've been faithful to people and in situations where it wasn't even necessary. And I'm one of those people that always went the extra mile. Um, I had to parent myself. I had to be at times a parent to my own mother. And then the problem that I have that really frustrates me and pushes me to the end is that when I feel like in the environment and when I feel like my mother and my abusers and people that abuse and do those wicked things are placed onto the same level or above the righteous person, is very frustrating. Nobody wants to speak out against my mother or against the abusers, period. It's kind of whenever you want to bring up what happened to you, it's always kind of a focus on yourself kind of a thing. And it's not always so easy to focus on yourself when you haven't been given justice. All I'm asking for is justice. I would like a clearer definition between that what was right and what's wrong. And mostly people want to do what's acceptable for you. You'll find that most of the people that are talking about forgive your abuser and are so lighthearted about the abuse are parents. You know why they can be lighthearted? Because they've stepped into the role of being an abuser. And like I said, I've always held myself to a very high morality degree. You know, a lot of people view reproduction and their ability to give birth or to impregnate as a right, and that they can use that anytime they choose, how they choose. Well, my reproduction is an ability that I have given over to Christ and that He manages for me. That's what my reproduction is. So, you know, I find it very assumptive to assume you are qualified and ready to have a child. I'm in my abuse forums for child abuse survivors and stuff like that, and they have different people up in there talking about how having a child helped them to realize their traumas, you know, how they recognize ways that they were things they were doing to their child, and it helped them to fix certain behaviors. Yeah, after the fact that you may find that, oh, was something I was doing wrong, and you're able to correct that. Absolutely terrific that having a child helped you with that. But did you know you've already impacted and transferred that abuse onto that child? And a lot of the reasons why you're feeling better and being a parent has been a healing for you is because you've transferred your abuse onto that child now, and that child is helping you and or maybe even taking on those burdens now. All right, so I'm not an abuser. I don't have children. And people are like, well, you could have a baby. To me, it's not acceptable to bring another person into this world to meet their own needs. When you hear people talk about why they have their children, it's like being a child made me a better person. I was in love with somebody, or I was with somebody I loved and I wanted to share a child with them. It's never about the needs of the child. And I mean, no parent is able to fully meet the needs of the emotional and physical needs of their children. They're not able to meet all of them. So at some point, not to mention your own traumas, and it's just a lot going on. I think it's irresponsible to have a child and you're not healthy, or if you're not healthy. And a lot of people, man, people have so much stuff going on with them. Like I said, my reproduction is an ability that I've given over to Christ, and I feel great about it. A lot of these people, like I said, they're feeling better because now they're able to move on, and they can even forgive their parents more easily because they see the things that they've done. But me, I didn't make that choice. I recognize how selfish it is to have a child, how assumptive, like, just to assume you are so qualified. For one, my mom had 4 children, and there was nothing qualified about any of the way that she brought up 4 children that made, I'm looking at the situation like, what made you think you were in any way qualified, that your parenting, that anything about you needed to be reproduced over 4 times? So I'm a survivor of child abuse. I can tell you, people are, and I see these parents, by me not being an abuser, I am so, I'm able to identify. I see so much abuse, people be mishandling their children in so many different ways, and it's just, there's a special class of victimhood when you don't go on to abuse another person, and that's not something I've done. There's a special class of victimhood when you didn't go on to transfer your traumas, but you're working them out. I personally feel like, I mean, and that's the frustration of it. When I get frustrated is I feel like I can only trust a parent so much, somebody who's become a parent. I feel like once you've gone that far, at that point, I feel like you're using people and relationships to meet your emotional needs. And I wonder, is that really an accept for me? I often ask, is that really an acceptable, am I satisfied with that? Like I said, I hold myself to a high moral standard. And it's like, is that acceptable to me? Because when you don't have those people, that child, that relationship, oftentimes if they lose these things, they'll fall to pieces. So did you ever really deal with the trauma? Sometimes it just seems like they're masking it and covering it up, and also inflicting their own traumas onto other people in these different relationships. And I feel like it's extremely heroic of me to not choose to have children, and at this point, I feel like I would be content in life if I didn't have another man touch me in any way that's impure. I don't want to be touched in an impure way ever again. I don't want to be objectified. I don't want to play. I don't need them. I don't really feel like, at this time in my life, it would be a victory. What success looks like to me in my life is being financially secure to the point where I don't ever have to be touched by another man again if I don't want to. And I don't feel like I want to right now. I certainly don't, But, yeah, a lot of these people, it feels like and seems like, are using people to meet their own emotional needs. And I have to ask myself, for me, that's not acceptable. I feel like it's better and more heroic, I feel like, to end my life not an abuser, having not to went on to abuse and manipulate, trap and snare in the legal system, no, not saying you meant to do everything you meant to do, but nevertheless, you've caused suffering, intended or not, and a lot of times people want to block out their responsibility. That's something my mother is doing. She doesn't want to acknowledge the way her actions affected me. And that's always something that's always been glossed over. There's no accountability, I feel like, to the parents that abuse their children and have their children, which most of them, I would say all of them on some level, have their children for their own selfish reasons. And they have these children for their own selfish reasons. They're not perfect people, so they make mistakes, and they want you to be grateful for it and be happy to be alive. But so many of us on the forum are over here daily feeling like we're dying, wanting to be dead. These are often the feelings that children that were used and abused and forced to be adults far before their time deal with, okay? Just wanting the suffering to end. Some of us never had a time to just, I don't know, the abuse started for some of us in the womb. But I don't particularly feel like parents are on my level. And if you're out here having abortions, that's another story, and you're not on my level either. I don't really feel like it's, I can learn a little bit from parents, but I'm only going to feel I can relate to you so far, and then I feel like, well, you're using a crutch. This person has taken, and I guess they're like, well, there's nothing wrong, and these people will tell you there's nothing wrong with, having a relationship. We're meant to do that, and this, that, and the other. But like I said, some of us, Jesus was perfect. He didn't have children and he wasn't married. It's a special kind of person that chooses. and is called and is able, and for however long you're able to carry that burden of doing it on your own, you're amazing. I'm amazing, and I'm an amazing, strong person. Thank you, Jesus. Glory, Yeshua. Glory. These people are not seeing me. They're not seeing me. Parents don't have anything on people that don't have children. They don't have nothing. A parent can only relate so far to the abuse, and then they begin to side with the abuser because they are the abuser. On some level, you've abused, and perhaps that makes it easier to forgive your parent. But I'm trying, and a part of me wills to forgive my mom. But at the same time, there's so much about her, thankfully, that I can't relate to because Father has kept me, and I'm going to be grateful for that. But yes, I just feel like, and I want to stress the point that having a child is such a selfish and assumptive thing to do. Whatever made you think you were qualified to handle a delicate life. And then there are those that were given the responsibility to handle the delicateness of someone's life by the Most High, and there are people who were given the responsibility to care for another life by the Most High, and hopefully they handle that responsibility with fear and trembling in the name of Jesus, as it should be handled. Because a lot of these parents, particularly my mom, my family, I was forced to honor and respect. Not so much was going on that was wrong, but a lot of the respect and the honor and the stuff my mom got from me, I feel like a part of me that's angry now feels like she stole it. It was fraudulent. These people were beating on me and ruling over me tyrannically, and I'm the one who had to break the curses that they're too weak to address and to deal with. You don't even have the courage and the boldness to face the truth, break generational curses. I'm not a single parent. Okay? I'm doing things you don't even have the ability doing. With all the damage and suffering on my back that you inflicted upon me as I wait for my day of justice. Okay, I had to honor my abusers while I was beat down and stepped on. And I had to honor my abusers while I was beat down and stepped on. And these people don't have the ability to do what I'm doing and what I'm called to do and the responsibility that I'm bearing. They're too weak. I did more for them than they did for me. Yet I had to honor them, respect them, was beaten by them unrighteously, and it's frustrating. It makes a person angry when they think about it. And I would like justice. What I would like is justice. I want justice. I want my righteousness, the good choices that I've made, the ways that I help my family, the ways that I made the right choice in austere conditions. I want that to be made known about me, because I've had to where I've been forced and suppressed and had false titles and just all sorts of slandering things said about me by people that didn't possess and don't possess my purity. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. But then, now as I'm saying that, the thought that comes to mind for me is, who was the person that was so bold and thought he was so much, he was spitting up in Christ's face when he was, gone before his time of crucifixion? They were beating him and mocking him and laughing at his expense. And who are these people that thought they were so righteous they could march and mock and lay hands on the Holy of Holies? They tripping. So it's just another thing that unites me with Christ's people who don't hold a candle to you. Being placed in situations, I guess that's part of suffering with Christ, is having people who don't hold a candle to you, placed in positions of authority over you. And the parents, I don't know. I mean, to me, it would be easy to speak to another abuser and to go in on their parents. And for me, that's what I would like. I would like to roast my abusers. I think they should be roasted. That's not too much to do, and people don't even want to give us that. People don't even want to verbally chop them down to size for. It's a shame. There was nothing about my mother that was qualified to have children other than her reproductive ability. So yeah, I mean, parents aren't really, I guess I'll just look at them like vehicles. Parents ain't nothing but a ride into this dimension. Them people ain't about nothing. Them people is not, I think here people place way too much high regard on parents. They're given way too much of a pristine appearance. I feel like parents should be scrutinized rather than given a blanket. I think they should be scrutinized. Because too much is at stake. And everybody wants to say, oh, you're not a parent, you can't speak. I'm more than qualified to speak. I'm not an abuser, and I have survived poor parenting. And the system failed me. My community failed me. Parents should be scrutinized.